Hello, my name is Mark Kruchnet. I'd like to call to order the November 19th meeting of the Ross ADR. The first thing we always do in these meetings is we open it up to the public. If anyone wants to speak for up to 3 minutes on some topic or item that is not on the agenda for this evening, either at home or in the audience, you can raise your hand. Okay, if not, we will proceed. The first item of business tonight, well, we'll just introduce ourselves really quickly. I'm Mark Kruchnet, ADR member.
Mark Fritz.
Laura Dewar, ADR member.
And Stephen Sutro, an ADR member, will be here in the next 5 to 10 minutes. He was just stuck in a little bit of traffic. The first item is the approval of the minutes from the October 15th meeting, which I missed. So it would be great if one of you could.
I can recommend those for approval.
They look good to me.
Yep, great. So those are approved. So the first item of business we have tonight, oh, and just to let people in the audience here and at home know, in case you haven't been to an ADR meeting before, the way this works is when an item comes up, the town gives a short presentation on it, then the owner and/or their design team gives a longer presentation where the ADR members may or may not ask questions or clarifications. After that point, we open it up to the audience, and people may speak for up to 3 minutes on any project. And then we bring it back here for the ADR members and only the ADR members to make a recommendation to the town council. And the first item of business, something we've seen before, is 40 Upper Road.
Good evening, ADR members. Tonight, the applicant at 40 Upper Road is requesting a recommendation to the Town Council for design review and a hillside lot permit. The project is proposing to construct a new infinity swimming pool, a wood deck, a pool equipment enclosure, terrace patios, and retaining walls measuring up to 6 feet, as well as downward and shielded exterior lighting. The owner is also currently in the process of merging both lots, and the project proposes impervious surface increase of 2,400 square feet, and a new coverage will be mitigated by adding a new 172 square foot bioretention area for stormwater control. Staff requests that the ADR group discuss the merits of the project and propose a recommendation to the Town Council. Thank you.
Do the owners and/or their design team wish to speak?
Well, actually, I don't. Let's see. Let me see if she's online.
Okay.
She is not online.
Okay.
Oh, she's here.
So we just went over your project briefly. Would you like to say anything or make a short presentation? And you'll need to turn on the microphone. Mark, can you show her? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Xiaoqian Chang, representing Studio H2 Landscape Architecture for the project 40 Upper Road. And I first want to thank the design review board, the advisory board gave us comments, and I think we now, the project has received approval to merge the two lots. And now the proposed swimming pool and the terraces would no longer require variance. And so it will just be a swimming pool with all the retaining walls. We work with the civil engineer closely to modify the grading, and now all the retaining wall is under 6 feet tall. So that should meet with the town's design guideline, and hopefully this will be a happy solution for everyone.
Any other changes you made since the last time we saw it? And maybe that's the only one, but if there. Sorry. Could you just go over any changes you've made other than the retaining walls since the last time we saw this project?
Yes, so we also provide a design, planting design. That was one of the comments that we want to make sure all the hardscape were properly screening from the view of for the adjacent projects, and also just soften the volume of the entire development. So like you see on this renderings that we have proposed evergreens, shrubberies, and some seasonal plants that will disguise the structure, and the pool will just be able to see from the property itself, which is the building in the background, and also the cottage that's now also part of the one parcel. I think that's all the changes we made from the last meeting.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, if I could. So when you describe the changes to the retaining walls to keep them under 6 feet, working with the grading, can you describe in a little more detail? I have two questions. A little more detail about what that is, because one of the recommendations I had was to continue to push it down a little bit.
Yes.
So that's question one. Question two, associated with that, the story poles out on the site, do they represent the current elevation of the pool? Are they current in that reflect this design?
Yes, I will answer the second one first. So the story pole that's on site as today is representing this current design. And also it's the same as the previous design. After we met with the commission, actually the design review last time, we look into the possibility of lowering the swimming pool, but that presents a new problems because the grade difference from the proposed pool to the existing front yard is within this current design is about 6 feet. So the further we depress the pool, that will make we will end up having another tall wall in the background. So we're balancing between how much we could lower this terrace and also still maintain the design that's accessible from the building. So we end up keeping the pool at the same elevation as last time. What we did is we changed the pathway that's further down the development. We move it out and create a small retaining wall that give us more space to make the grading to work with the 6 foot guidance.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Yeah.
Joey, do you have any questions? Laura, sorry. Why did I call you Joey? Sorry.
I don't have any questions.
And Stephen, just to summarize quickly, since you just arrived, this is 40 Upper Road, and they've changed the retaining walls to make them all 6 feet or less, and the pool's basically in the same place at the same elevation as we saw it previously. Do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay.
So I did actually have a question.
Oh,
I lied.
sorry, Laura.
Just curious, are there details of the pool equipment enclosure?
Yes, we took the opportunity to further develop how the pool equipment will look like. So now what's showing on this plan is there will be a cement slab, and on top of that is the pool equipment, and we will have a wood enclosure to conceal this equipment for the sound and also for aesthetic.
Okay, so it's not fully enclosed, it's just got some paneling.
I think we will fully enclose it. It will have the roof.
Okay, yeah, just concern of the noise. And then I also was just looking at the pool fencing and the patio guardrail. It was a little hard to tell from the elevations. Are those different?
It's the same as last time.
And you know what? I missed the August conceptual, so I was sick then.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry. So yes, so the pool fencing is, well, it's required to have the pool fencing enclose the entire pool activity areas. So to work with the current front yard and the landscape around that we had to introduce pool gate that's, if you look at this picture, it's kind of in the middle of the picture. And around there, you see this wood framing with these panels. That's where the pool fencing will be there. So we will enclose from here, and the pool fencing kind of go around behind those shrubs, and will come around here, and will tie to the edge of the swimming pool, where the retaining wall is more than 5 feet. And that will, from this point over here, because the wall height, it will suffice the pool fencing requirement. And from here again, behind the shop is the retaining wall.
Yeah, I see all that. Thank you. I guess I'm just asking, is that guardrail on the, around the pool patio on the right side, the same design as the 5-foot tall fence?
It probably will be different. The pool fencing itself has to be substantial probably the wood probably will be wood post with a wood framing and mesh around. And the guardrail itself might be constructed with just metal.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone here in the audience or at home in the audience who would like to comment on this project? No? Okay. Well, then I'll bring it back to the ADR for recommendations. Is there someone who'd like to go first?
Yeah, I think that I appreciate the effort to try to keep all those retaining walls down to 6 feet and below. The reason why I asked the question about the existing story poles was, walking out there, I'm just under 6 feet myself, and I was able to easily walk underneath the majority of the tape lines. That far corner that sits out, the most prominent corner on the hill seemed to be closer to 8 feet on the current grading. So as I was sort of looking through the grading system, I think they're going to bring the grade up there, which mitigates what we're actually seeing on site. So I think they've done a pretty good job. I think the merging the lots is the biggest piece to this puzzle. So I can approve this and recommend it as it's designed moving forward.
Thanks, Mark.
So again, I missed the conceptual review in August, but it looks like a really nice project. I like this location kind of tucked in more than what was in the first review earlier in the year or last year, whenever you guys came through the first time. And in terms of the elevation of the pool and patio, I think it's fine where it is, because if you keep trying to push it down, then you're almost making the volume and massing of the house look bigger by doing that. So it seemed appropriate to me. And I thought the materials looked really nice for the project, and I would approve it. I don't have anything else to add.
Thanks. Stephen?
I can approve it as submitted, and I don't have any comments.
I also recommend approval, as is. I think it's a great project, and good luck to the owners. Thank you. Okay, the next property, something else we've seen before, is 313 Upper Toyon Drive. Alex, are you doing the, okay.
All right. Good evening. The applicant at 313 Upper Toyon is requesting a recommendation to the town council for design review, a hillside lot permit, and a variance. The project is proposing to construct a new 500 square foot open parking deck within the side yard setback, shown here. The deck will be made of concrete and will have a 2 feet 5 inches high concrete wall and wood panels along the perimeter. A trellis will also be installed along the perimeter of the deck, but it will not provide full coverage, as shown here. And staff requests that the ADR group discuss the merits of the project and provide a formal recommendation to the town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Are the owners or their design team here?
Yes, we have Vlad.
Good evening. My name is Vlad Jožika. I'm actually the engineer, structural engineer, and I took on the role of also doing the 3D presentation for this project. The project started from the idea of decongesting the street during the events that happening. Actually, not the street, the driveway, the elongated driveway that connects the two lots to the upper Choyan Street, which is down below. And if we can switch to a site plan, the topographic map probably is the most representative.
Yep.
That shows the condition of the driveway and the slope along its alignment. It will make
Give me 1 second.
representation of the wider project. The project consists of 2 stalls for additional parking, as I mentioned, and is being built above a is being built at grade semi-elevation with the access driveway for the house. Again, provides 2 stalls, and it is a slab, above grade slab, supported on concrete columns. Hovers over an already used area as for utilities. There are some HVAC units below the deck, and its location is also been influenced by an existing tree that's located on the right-hand side as we are looking at the site. If I may. That tree is located right here. And gives the opportunity for the cars to get in and out from these parking stalls. There are mitigation measures being proposed to complement the project and provide stormwater management as required by the local code.
Can you just point out where the setback lines are?
Yes. There is a
Right here.
setback line marked on the plan right in here. The lot is 2 acres actually, 100 plus. So there is quite a distance from the setback, from the property line, side property line to the corner of the deck. On the other side, the property line is way down here. And this whole area, there is mature vegetation along the 2 property lines.
But actually,
Alex, could you maybe go back to that one you were just on, Alex, if you could, please? There is the setback line and then the distance to the setback. I think that's what Mark was asking for. The setback line cuts through the parking pad. It says 45-foot yard setback. Can you highlight that for us, Alex? It cuts from kind of the bottom left corner of the parking pad up to the upper right. Yeah, it kind of goes bottom left to upper right. Yeah, that line.
so approximately 2/3
Yeah,
ish is
something
in the
like
setback.
that. Yeah, okay, thank you.
I think for that purpose, we requested a variance.
Right, okay, yeah, that's, right, that's why I wanted to see where the line was.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Does anyone on the ADR have any questions?
I have 2 maybe. One is, because structural engineer, you know everything about can you talk a little bit why the choice of a concrete deck and that I think 2.5-foot wall that comes up from the deck? Just what's the importance of that and what's the decision-making behind that?
So the concrete columns and the deck itself is probably the most efficient solution for parking for the deck. Supporting columns are concrete because we're considered more efficient. And matching the rest of the improvements, meaning the retaining wall that supports the pad of the house behind the deck. I'm talking about this retaining wall that's continuous all around the pad of the house, and that is the same material. Of course, it's all the different color, but I'm sure in time this will match the.
Okay, thank you.
And regarding the second question, you had the barrier. That's pure technical. It's for cars to not go over the edge of the pad.
Okay, so it needs some sort of, obviously a piece of structure, and you've chosen to have a 2.5-foot concrete piece as the barrier to cars going over the side.
Exactly.
Okay.
And sort of on the same area, what's the reasoning for having that 6-foot tall fence around the parking lot?
So we currently the house has the pad is sort of a barrier, a privacy barrier. Well, I don't know, maybe it's for wind because the vegetation would be the privacy barrier. On exact build out of the same material as we are proposing around the pad. And one of the neighbors suggested that it would be a nice addition if we can add also the fence around the parking to match the same material, color, and so on. And that's where it's coming from.
The neighbor whose house is right there,
Yes,
29 Macon Grade?
That's correct.
Okay, and did they review and approve this project? Or not approve, sorry, but, yeah.
It is my understanding from talking with the owner that they've been in contact constantly, and the neighbor is supportive of the project. For, I guess the main reason is parking. With this additional 2 spots, 2 cars will be taken out of the cul-de-sac and parked inside the property.
Okay, so the neighbor whose property is most impacted by this
Yes.
is supporting it and wants a 6-foot tall fence?
This is my understanding, yes.
I have a question. What's the purpose of the trellis?
Provide some protection from the sun, I guess, and also potentially grow some vegetation to further mask the parking and the cars.
Is it planned to, I mean, the neighbor whose house is right next to it has a trellis that has like a plastic layer in it? Is that sort of what the plan is for that?
I'm not aware of that condition.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah, thank you.
Sure.
If there's anyone in the audience here or at home who would like to comment on this project, please raise your hand.
Oh, we have one person.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi, David. Can you hear us?
Okay, unmute, I got it.
Okay. Hi, David.
Hi, I am the neighbor at 307 Upper Toyon, not 29 Macon, and we are the most impacted by this new structure. And it was at my suggestion that the 2-foot concrete wall continue around the bottom of the structure, matching the existing 2-foot, I think it's slightly under 2 feet, but the concrete that goes around it. And on top of that concrete is an existing fence, which the neighbor has graciously agreed to continue around the outside of it. So it makes it a visually similar to what it already exists and is a nice privacy benefit for both parties. So that's my input, and I'm in favor of the project. Hopefully, it'll keep some cars out of our turnaround area.
Wait, thank you. We appreciate you, your participation. Is there anyone else?
There's no one else.
Okay. So I'll go first on this one. When I originally saw the plans, I just thought it was sort of horrible. Concrete, stilts in the setback. Why would we approve this? But then when I went up to the site and looked at it, especially from the neighbors, the one who just called, I sort of stood next to his deck. And actually, there's some pretty ugly equipment there right now. And it seems to me that adding this parking spot will actually make it a more attractive view, even though most of it's screened through the trees. It will slightly improve his view because he's looking at that equipment, and then this structure jutting out will actually make it slightly more aesthetically appealing, especially with the fence. And not that the fence blocks the view, but the fence matches the rest. And there's trees there. And to me, if the neighbor, and there are really only 2 homes up here, so if the neighbor's in support of it and he's happy to have the more parking off the street, then I'm fine with it, despite the fact that under most normal circumstances, I would not be if there was more views from the public and you saw the ugly stilts, but it's very isolated up there. Whoever wants to go next can.
I actually kind of agree. Living on a hill like that, which I can relate to, and having the parking space to relieve issues with neighbors is very important. And if that neighbor at 307, who just called in, supports it as designed, I would think that it would be, that I would support it as well for a variance. The one thing to add would be like, if there's any way, all that equipment, because I stood at the same spot and listened to the equipment and was looking at everything below where the parking is supposed to be, if that could be like either screened or soundproofed some, just to improve on what's there while you're doing work, I think that would be a good idea.
Yeah, I had the original same thought, Mark. I guess one thing that strikes me about this piece of property is the amount of current parking that's on the site already. So there's a paved driveway that goes into the northern part of the site. That's kind of more of a drop-off area. There's also a 3-car parking garage with significant parking in front of those garage doors, maybe holding another 2 to 3 cars. There's a spot right outside in between those two. There's so much parking on this site already. I struggle to think that unless there's a party, a substantial party, that this site can't already accommodate cars and not, enough cars that they wouldn't be blocking the street, the other driveway essentially. So I'm struggling to see where there's a hardship to need to go into the setback to build what is ostensibly kind of a unattractive platform for parking, where while this current neighbor may be fine with it, if they sell their house, the next neighbor comes along, I don't find that to be a compelling reason to say that this is a great design and or location on the lot, or a necessity or a hardship. So I'm struggling a little bit to think the proximity to that next neighbor's deck, right, which is essentially where they're going to be sitting out looking at the view of Mount Tam, it's really right there. So I'm struggling to see the rationale why 2 additional spots, now totaling probably 8 off-street parking spots, seems to be excessive. I think, Laura, to your point, having the shielding of the units below, the mechanical below, is a nice bonus, but I'm not sure that, we're going to get it from the sight lines, that you could probably look underneath the deck and see all that mechanical. So I would agree with you, if this was to move forward, provide some sort of screening on the mechanical soundproofing, because it is kind of noisy already. reflects off that wall. Yeah, I'm struggling to find the findings for additional necessity for parking on this cul-de-sac. So I don't really feel super in support of it. I mean, the design of it, I'm struggling with a little bit as well. I understand the continuation of some of the materials that's already there. The trellis doesn't really do it for me unless I see substantial reason or a planting plan that's going to say we are growing something up top to actually provide some shade for the cars, because at this current point, I don't really see that happening. I'm worried about that redwood tree in the excavation for the pillars and the columns. Is that really going to survive? Which, if there's a bay tree that's got to be removed, the redwood, is that going to make it through the construction? Not really confident about that. So I'm struggling to support this one in its current instantiation and location on the site. It's a big site. Is this the spot to infringe upon a side yard setback, which your neighbor has a deck that's right on the back of their home that they utilize? So I struggle with that.
Roberta or Alex, are the findings for variance in the submittal here?
No, they're not. So they added some to the application, but the findings for the variance would be made by the council if it moves forward, based on your recommendation.
So to the point that was just made, are you asking us to opine on whether there is, in our view, a hardship here that warrants the variance? Or are you just asking for comments on the design, the quality of the design?
Well, typically it would be focused on design. However, in the resolution for ADR, you are free to opine on, variances, hillside lot permits, all the various entitlements that require discretionary review. But, you all don't necessarily need to make the findings, it's the council. But you can recommend, if you don't think they could make the findings.
This is hard for me too, because I feel like there is, as far as I can tell, adequate parking on the site. And so a variance could work for me conceptually if there were not, if the parking were difficult. And I know it's difficult in all these steep sites in terms of neighbors and relationship with guests and so forth. So I know that is hard. I don't know if that constitutes a hardship in terms of a special circumstance of a lot that would suggest that it's appropriate to break a side yard setback with a very large structure. So I'm struggling with it too. I think that the design is fine because it's just not very impactful from public areas and the neighbors don't mind it and that kind of thing. So I don't think the design is superb, but it's not very visible. So I don't really have a problem with the design so much. But it's a big thing high up in the air in a setback. And are we in the business of endorsing high things in the setbacks when they're not needed? And I struggle with that too. So I don't know. I'm fine with it from a design standpoint, kind of. And I guess we just put it in the lap of the council to adjudicate the appropriateness of the variance application. That seems like a sucky kind of recommendation from us, So I don't know.
But I do agree with you that I'm fine with the design, but you're right, there's no hardship. They have certainly plenty of space for parking, more than the vast majority of homes in the town and the vast majority of homes in that lot size. So I don't think there's any hardship. It's convenience and the neighbors not opposing, and I'm fine with the design. It's certainly not aesthetically attractive, but I don't think anybody sees it, and it covers up a little bit of the equipment. But I'm sort of in the same camp as you two. There's nothing you've said I disagree with.
Laura, you're a sympathizer.
I mean, it's the slope of the land, like they're using with this design just over 5% lot coverage out of 10% available. I mean, they're limited because they can't build down at the lower part of the lot, right? So.
But do you feel as if that they've already gotten, I struggle with the side yard setback being impeded when there seems to be ample parking on the site.
But who decides what's ample parking?
Well, we have a minimum by our code, right?
So
And
are
then,
we not supposed to allow more than the minimum?
and I think this lot does. And that's where I think, I mean, there's already 3 covered parking spots. And then there's an additional, probably, like I said, about 5 to 6 spots on the site already. So
It's probably triple the,
it seems as if they've already gotten ample amount of parking on the site. That's where I struggle with it. If this didn't infringe on a setback and it wasn't so close to the neighbor's outdoor area, I would probably say, okay, I could see that, but it does, and it does hang up above the grade, as Stephen pointed out. It's a little bit of a sore thumb, is the way I would consider that to be the case. So that's where I was coming from. It's like, is this something, as Stephen put it, that we would want to endorse others to come along and say, yeah, I would like more parking. I'd like to just jut something out, like a parking pad like that. From a design perspective, I would say no. So while the individual components might be designed well, I don't think the approach to the lot is that sensitive, to be honest. Because it doesn't need it. But that's where I was coming from. And it being the last 2 houses up there, it's not a lot of, where we see other spots where there's a lot of through traffic and they absolutely need to get cars off the road because trucks are coming through, et cetera. That's not the case with this lot. It's at the pinnacle, it's at the top. And they have those 2 driveways already on the site. It seems like, wow, that's ample.
okay, well,
I mean, I agree, but I don't know how they're trying to use it. I don't think they'd be going through this process if they didn't feel like they needed it for their property. But
okay, well, Roberta, Alex, in the notes, you should say that the majority was okay with the design, but the majority also felt that there was not a hardship.
Okay,
Fine. Leave it at that? Okay.
thank you.
Thank you. So now we'll move on to 200 Lagunitas Road. Thank you.
Good evening. The applicant at 200 Lagunitas Road is requesting a recommendation to the town council for design review and a variance. The project is proposing to revitalize the existing front yard landscape to include new swimming pool and spa, a pool equipment, artificial turf, a fire pit, patio, outdoor kitchen, retaining walls, plantings, and exterior light fixtures. The project will also include a new auto gate that will measure 6 feet, 6 feet and 6 inches, and a new pedestrian gate. A variance is required to construct the outdoor kitchen and patios within the side yard setback. And staff requests that the ADR group discuss the merits of the project and provide a formal recommendation to the town council. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the owners or their design team like to present?
Yes, we have the applicant here.
This is Elaine from Strata Landscape Architecture, presenting 200 Lagunitas Road Landscape Improvement Project. Okay, so I will start from the driveway gate and the driveway. So we locate the new driveway gate almost like existing location of the gate and widen up for 16 feet minimum opening for the fire code, and also widening the driveway from 12 feet to 16 feet to meet the fire department code, all the way to the motor court. If we can bring up
Yep.
the layout plan, 1.0. You can take a look. So this drawing is showing the driveway gate and also pedestrian gate.
Sorry, what was the page again?
1.0 layout plan, please.
Oh.
So we are resurface the motor court, also adding to guest parking space for the turnaround space, because existing motor court is really tight and hard to get a car in and out. Consider the challenging and limitation of the site. We are putting the pool in the front yard. The pool is outside of 25 feet side setback. If we can show. So the pool actually is touching the 25 feet setback, outside setback line, and allows us to having artificial turf next to it. And we have patio of the fire pit and also patio for the dining table and outdoor barbecue. So that's the variance. We are having some paving inside the setback, 25 feet setback. Then also we are showing the location of the pool equipment notched in existing slope on the top of the drawing. Also, it will be enclosed for like a noise. We also show this plan to the neighbor, and for consent of location of barbecue, they don't have any objection of the location of barbecue on this side. And also, we are adding more screening shrubberies on the property line to provide like more privacy. Yeah, that's overall the front yard landscape design. And for the backyard, we'll basically keep the same existing layout of the lawn area and then improve some of the walkways to connect to the doors and also the motor court on this side. Yeah, that's basically it for the landscape design.
Are there any questions about the variance request or anything else in the landscaping plan?
I have a question. It's hard for me to understand on the existing, or I guess it's sheet L01A, what exists in that area of side yard setback? You know, in other words, in the areas where you're seeking relief from the code to build the barbecue area and the dining area, what's in that existing area?
If you can bring to, yeah. So this is existing lawn with some retaining walls and basically just planting.
Got
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask what has changed since the project was here last? Like, did the pool move or what? I was just trying to spot what had
This
changed.
is the first time it's,
So they came to do an addition to the house, and then now they're coming for the landscaping. So you hadn't seen the landscaping before.
Okay, but the pool was in that addition package. Okay,
We had seen the general layout and made some comments on it, but at that point, we were just recommending on the house changes.
got it. Okay. And then the pool equipment, you touched on it, but I'm trying to find it in the plan, and I'm not seeing, is that in this encroaching into the setback or where?
yeah, let me pull it up real quick.
On the 1.0. Yes, right here, we're notch in the existing slope and adding a steps to the existing shed on this corner.
Okay.
It doesn't appear to, it doesn't
It's in the
appear-
buildable area,
Yeah, it seems
right?
like it's in the buildable area.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can you speak to the paving in the two patio areas that you're looking for the variance? What are we looking at as far as the surface material?
Oh, we are looking for, if, this hatch is like, oh.
Yeah.
So this patio having the same hatch as the stone paving, and on the top is just gravel paving.
Is that sand set? Is it porous or is it impervious or pervious?
This is paving on concrete mortar.
Okay, so it's impervious. And I noticed is there, and I apologize if I didn't find it in the packet, is there a plan for mitigating the increase in impervious surfaces? I'm sure there's something there. I didn't see it.
We are actually really close to the existing impervious surface. We are having this new part of the gas parking area to be like a permeable paver.
Okay.
Yeah, they're actually minimizing 664 square feet.
Yeah, I apologize. Yeah, you're going down. My apologies. Yeah,
And
you're-
we
you're
are have the bioretention at this corner by civil design.
And then another question, the patio for the pool is also in the, now I guess in the side yard setback, front as well?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
like
so
this
that's
triangle
additional-
corner.
So that's part of the variance and the
Correct.
the others. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Yes.
Laura, are you all good? Okay. Is there anyone in the audience or at home who would like to comment on this project?
No.
Okay, why don't we go reverse order this time? Stephen, you can go first.
I think the design is beautiful. I think you guys have done a really great job. It's wonderful. I know that the barbecue area and the dining area kind of abuts the back of the pool house of the neighboring property, and so is very unlikely to disturb that neighbor there. I don't really see that there's a hardship that would suggest, would recommend approval of a variance of the setbacks, though. For instance, I understand that a big lawn is nice in front of the pool, but it comes at the expense of putting the congregation space outside of the buildable area. And with such a large, nice buildable area, with topography that's friendly, it seems like it's a nice to have, not a need to have, in terms of asking for that setback relief. So I can approve the design of everything wholeheartedly. I think the driveway is great, the gate is great, the parking area, increasing the usability of that, which is allowed outside of the buildable area, all of it is fantastic. I'm struggling with the substantiation for variance in the side yard relative to those three terrace areas. So I'd like to hear from the other ADR members on that. It would be nice to have, do you have support of the neighbor in writing? Yeah. So it's in a good spot for it. It's in a good spot to break the rule, I think, contextually. But I don't see the need for that. So I'd like to hear from my other ADR members.
Thanks, Steve. Mark?
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar place as Stephen. I think there's a opportunity possibly maybe to reduce some of so what we see a lot here is people pushing things to the outside limits or even asking for variances to their lot so that they can retain as much open space. If Joey were here, our other colleague, she would probably reiterate this. So what we're seeing a lot of is this sort of move things towards the property lines and keep as much open space in the interior of the lot as possible. And the example of that is where the location of the outdoor kitchen is, right? It's not tucked in as close as you, because you could set that into the buildable area right inside that setback line, but no, it's pushed really much as close to the property line as you're willing to go. Those are the things I struggle with, as those decisions. And as Stephen points out, the pool terrace is the exact same thing, right? That pool terrace could be on the opposite side of the pool, fully within the setbacks, but it's chosen to be moved into the setback line because you want that larger artificial turf space. So while I understand those reasons, they certainly make sense to me as a designer, it is hard to make findings for those given the size and as Stephen pointed out, the levelness of this lot. So some things I might suggest, I have less of a problem with the pool terrace as I do with sort of maybe the barbecue and the outdoor kitchen area. They both abut the sort of back sides of these adjacent properties, which, as Stephen points out, is a good idea. But they seem excessive. I would say the kitchen area and this additional terrace that's below that there's a lot of seating areas in this zone. I would recommend shrinking them down to be much more of a minimal impact in the side yard setback because they seem repetitive to some degree. And it is hard to find, to come up with findings to say, okay, we need three patios all in general proximity of each other and 2 of them in the side yard setback. So I struggle with that a little bit. So my recommendation would be shrink these down, eliminate ones that are so grotesquely in the side yard setback. Mostly that outdoor kitchen one is the one that's the most egregious. I think one last question, I apologize. I'll finish the comments there. I'm assuming you're removing the front gate and existing stone pillars because they don't meet the fire department width? Is that right? Okay. I want to verify that because it is sad to lose those. They are kind of, quote unquote, historic in nature. You see that design throughout Ross. It might be interesting to look at a similar stone pattern that you have out there. I think you're proposing a slightly different pattern. There is some continuity around the area with that style of masonry, and it would be kind of nice to keep it. Like, it feels very Ross. And I would, as much as possible, I would kind of think about using that material and that grout technique that's there. So, but I understand that the fire department needs to get in, so you gotta do. So, but my recommendation here is, I don't think I would move forward with it as designed. Again, I like the design, but I think it's asking a lot of this lot, which is relatively flat and accessible for that variance. So I would say reduce these patios in the side yard as much as possible, if not eliminate them, especially the one where the outdoor kitchen is.
Thank you, Mark.
Laura?
No. Okay. I would agree with Stephen. It's a absolutely lovely design. It's very practical. I understand every part about it. I think it's done really well. But it's also almost impossible to say there's a hardship. And, hardship for a deck and an outdoor kitchen just doesn't really exist on this lot. So I'd agree with the prior two, that it's an absolutely great design, but I don't see how the town council is going to say that there's a hardship that they need to grant a variance for, just legally speaking.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think the design looks nice and I like the materials selected. And I'm a little bit torn. I mean, it doesn't seem like them having a patio near the pool a few feet into the setback is going to change the use and impact the neighbor more. So, I mean, I would definitely support that. I understand what Mark is saying about there being kind of a lot of patio space in the setbacks. Is that really all necessary? Yeah, so I guess maybe if there's a way of looking at how to minimize it or bring it in some. And the only other thing I can think is, like, it is a large lot, but a little bit the layout is weird because they're putting the pool in the front yard. So that is a factor in all of this, right? And then in addition, they have this like super long winding driveway. So perhaps they've explored all options for where they could put the barbecue, and with the neighbor's support, thought that that was the best location. So I don't know, I'm kind of torn.
Okay. Okay.
So is the ADR's recommendation that they amend the plans and maybe reduce some of the patios in the setback and return with a revised design for a recommendation, or?
Yes, since we're just doing the landscape. Or they could try to go to the town council and see if they can convince the town council that there's a hardship that is worthy of a variance.
Can I address the comments?
Actually, you can't now just because of the way it goes. We went over that before you arrived. I know you came late. Okay, thank you. And do we have any information, discussion, or new agenda items? No?
I don't have any items.
Okay, I motion we adjourn. Okay, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.